Greetings, everybody. Unfortunately, we had to miss another week, so I was digging through some stuff, and I found a whole bunch of archived Tales from the Space Pod episodes that we hadn't. They're too old to be archived in the last 25 episodes on iTunes and most of the other places that aggregate the podcast. But for some reason, they also weren't in the big list. If you are a Patreon subscriber, which you can be at patreon.com/Tales from the Space Pod, to get all those old episodes, about 20 or so. And there's some really good shit there. So I was going to pop one of those up, but while I was digging through some stuff, I found this episode of the probably now defunct Holly and Ron show. We just kind of got too busy with life to keep. I was too busy to keep a second podcast. Holly had to go away to school, and it just got too tough to keep another weekly thing going. We'll occasionally record in the not too distant future, because we do love shooting the shit. This is an episode that we never uploaded. There's actually another one that never actually got uploaded. I'm not sure why. I think things just got too chaotic, and we just sort of let it go by the wayside. So there's 2 episodes that were never uploaded at all, and I thought that I would upload one here. So enjoy. It's just a little casual conversation. I will give you a warning. Things right up front, we talk about the legendary Mr.Hands, which has come up all too often on this podcast. We don't get too deep into it. Oh, bad. There's all sorts of accidental puns on this one. But it's a little brutal, involving a horse and a man and a tragedy. And then a little bit later on, we talk about bug trauma stuff. These are your content trigger warnings, if you will. Proceed with Kosh. Otherwise, I like the different pace of the Holly and Ron show versus How Bizarre. I do sort of miss that juxtaposition, but I think that's a little bit of a palate cleanser for you all. And moving forward, if we have to miss a week, I've got a whole bunch of Tales from the Space Pod episodes that I'm guessing a lot of you either never heard or you only heard once and it was way back. Haven't had access to those older shows, and some really good stuff. So, without further ado, enjoy the show, and we will be back next week. Bye.
Bizarre is intended for mature, open-minded audiences only. If you are easily offended, we suggest you turn this wacky shit straight off.
I just saw a headline that'll grab you. Let me just pull up the story here.
Can you hear the bodacious men in my living room right now?
I heard something, but it's faint.
Yeah, they're
I also have
loud.
a scanner on because people keep lighting fires with fireworks, even though we're 2 weeks past the 4th, and we've already had 2 giant, massive wildfires, but people don't want to learn. Okay, here we go. Oh, always like that. 19-year-old man charged with having sex with a horse after breaking into a Norfolk stable. Police have arrested a man they said broke into a stable. I guess the headline tells the story. An incident that was caught on security camera. There's footage. The 19-year-old Alliston man, Tuesday after an investigation, they charged him with sexual contact with an animal, cruelty to an animal, and breaking and entering during the nighttime. Yeah. Sex with horses. Sex with animals
Beat 'em claw.
is a definite special kind of demented brain.
You
but
know
a
Beat 'em
horse.
claw, yeah?
Mhm.
That story?
Oh, is that Mr. Hands? The famous Boeing engineer that got fucked to death by a horse?
By a
That's
stallion.
legendary on our old podcast.
Yeah, I knew you knew that.
Yeah, Mr. Hands.
Pinion's death rapidly
RIP.
prompted the enactment of a bill by the Washington state legislature that prohibits sex with animals and the videotaping of such an act.
That's right. There wasn't a
Under
law.
current Washington law, bestiality is now a Class C felony, punishable by up to 5 years in prison.
Interesting that it's by state. I wonder if there is a state that is friendly to horse fuckers, and if so, if they seek those states out so that they can fuck their horses.
I just need you really quickly to look at this Wikipedia page with me.
Okay. Put it up on your Scotty, put it on the bridge.
The title of the page is the Enumclaw horse sex case.
Well, that tells the story more than Mr. Hands dies by horse fuck. Well, I guess that equally tells.
I mean, I prefer
story.
one over the other.
Sure.
There's a little sidebar that has date, location, type, cause, participants, deaths. July 2nd, 2005, unincorporated King County, near Enumclaw, type zoophiliac, cause acute peritonitis.
Yeah, ripped his intestines over.
Caused by
Open.
traumatic perforation of the colon.
Perforated
Participants, Kenneth Pinion, aka Mr. Hands, James Michael Tate, an unidentified male, and a stallion.
Mm-hmm.
Deaths, 1 in parentheses.
The stallion. The stallion's the only one that came out on top, no pun intended.
Yeah,
I think Tate ended up in jail or something, and the other guy's dead. Yeah.
and the table of contents has like all the stuff you'd expect, like background, investigation, criminal charges. Then there's 6 aftermath. 6.1, 2 guys, 1 horse. 6.2, zoo in italics.
Yeah, that's a documentary, or no, it's a weird movie. I remember watching it when I was researching to talk about Mr. Hands way back on the old Tales from the Space Pod show. But yeah, there's a movie called Zoo that I think is loosely based on this horse fucker. A lot of people fucking horses, man.
Like too many.
Listen, I get it if you want to dig a big cock. But we're not talking like porn star big. We're talking like this is a giant beast that will rip you open. It amazes me that anyone could ever have sex with a horse and live. Because what they usually do is they do all the things to make this horse like crazy horny. Get it during mating season or whatever, some sort of hormones, pheromones. And then bend over and get fucked by what looks like a grown man's arm.
I mean,
How does that? But by the way, the power of a stallion. I can't imagine how that could possibly work even once.
I can't stop reading this.
Sure.
The vote record was passed. Yeas 36, nays 0, absent 0, excused 13. I assume those 13 were busy getting fucked by horses.
Yeah.
And
Nay.
I,
Nay.
I,
All opposed say nay. Come on. That's
in
pretty
addition, the law prohibits videotaping a person engaged in a sexual act or sexual contact with an animal that is, quote, either alive or dead.
good. Yeah. Both
And
illegal.
then in the C also, there's list of horse accidents, list of unusual deaths, and then United States portal, biography portal, horses portal, and human sexuality portal.
Wow. We're a sick people.
Excused 13.
We had to make a law about it. Every time we have to make an actual law, like we have to go through the process of making laws, that means that there are enough people doing it. And, people have been doing it forever. People have been fucking animals forever.
They should stop. That's my hot take of the evening.
A hot take.
I mean, come
Holly
after me. I
believes-
know it's an unpopular opinion.
I'll stand on my principles on this one. Stop fucking animals. Hashtag Holly says stop fucking animals. Well, R.I.P. Mr. Hands. Yeah, now we're not talking about some fucking yokel from, Ardenvor. This
No,
was
Ardenvor.
a
Sorry,
Boeing
Ardenvor.
engineer.
And resided in Gig Harbor.
I don't know why I feel like that should make a difference, but I feel like it should. He was an educated,
You can afford alternatives.
Yeah, well, what alternative is there to being fucked up the ass by a stallion, really? There's only so many role-playing things. Like sometimes you can get some of your kinks out with very specific role-playing. Horse fucking, like I said, even if you find your own stallion, of the human variety, he's not going to have the dick the size of a fucking arm.
You don't need a real dick. You can make a fake horse dick.
Sure. Yeah, but sex toys, I don't know. They're never as good as you hope, right?
I guess I can't speak to what I hope for from a horse dick.
No, sex toys, not horse dick. They're never as good as what you expect. Let me be clear about what I'm saying here. I think
Apparently Joe
move
Rogan
on.
showed this video to like multiple people.
Oh, the video's out there? I didn't think the video was out there.
The video, intended originally to sexually gratify the viewer, became one of the first viral reaction videos. The video was featured
Oh,
in the
but it's not the one where he
documentary Zoo.
died.
And on his podcast, The Joe Rogan Experience, Joe Rogan showed the video to two guests, Eliza Schlesinger,
Scarred for
who
life.
is like a very famous comedian, Josh Zepps, Kevin and Keith Hodge, aka the Hodge twins, which were YouTubers. After Pinion's death, a video circulated on the internet of Kenny and Pinion engaging in receptive anal intercourse with a horse. The video was nicknamed Mr.Hands, or Two Guys, One Horse.
Yeah. I know that they made several videos. That's what I'm saying. This happened for a while. Like, it was a surprise to all concerned when he died because, I know how to do this. But yeah, I guess the alignment wasn't just so, and it went like through his innards. And he died quite rapidly, painfully.
Good.
But yeah, it is a good situation. But the one that Joe Rogan showed was probably one of the ones. I feel like they confiscated the one, like the one where he died never made it out onto the internet. Could be wrong.
The Stranger published an article about it called "The Animal in You."
It was that Dan Savage. That had to have been Dan Savage.
No, Charles Moodid.
Well, I guess we've
Who's a
dedicated
Zimbabwean
enough
filmmaker.
time about horse fucking.
Oh my God, Vice's title is even better. The strange, sad story of the man named Mr.Hands who died from having sex with a horse.
It all sounds like a Coen Brothers movie, or something that would happen within a Coen Brothers movie. But it was real.
Hodge twins watch men have sex with a horse at Hodge twins.
It's the reaction of people watching bestiality. That's weird.
Oh my God.
That's
It's
a
like
weird
upsetting.
one. Do you ever do Reddit? Are you a Reddit person?
I am.
I have only recently given it a shot. I just feel like an old man when I'm on Reddit. I never really know how things work. But I went through a black hole of all sorts of crazy, weird, porn-related drama. And then it just turned into porn. I was like, well, while I'm here, two birds. And then I just kind of lost interest. But I was wondering if you were a Redditor. Because Reddit is like everything. Like that. There's Reddit and Twitter as far as like shit that really breaks news and or becomes news. Like it started like a controversy and battles and fights and all sorts of nefarious doings going on Reddit. So I tried to give it a shot, and I don't know.
I follow a lot of like reptile pages. I follow a lot of art pages, including like embroidery. So like my feed, people complain about Reddit being a bad place. People complain about Twitter and Instagram being bad places.
It's all about who you follow.
My feed right now on Reddit, if you look through it, it's just like dog, lizard, embroidery,
horse,
Stardew Valley,
2 horses, 1 man,
lizard. Yeah, a man having sex with a horse. Wait, I mean what?
We'll have that get in there.
Oh, geez. Oh no.
Unbookmark.
Yeah, mine's pretty low key.
Yeah, you're staying out of the gutter for the most part. It sounds like following those things, but I
like to dab. I know some subreddits that get like messy, and I will visit them without following them, and it's kind of like doing a little driving tour of a war zone. I think I love other people's shitty ideas and opinions.
Well, sometimes shitty ideas and opinions can lead to breakthroughs of your own, or they can lead to better opinions, or just appreciating what you have. There's something train wrecky about the internet in general. I think social media, so much of it is a shit show, and it's easy to get going down some threads of drama, even though I'm not really into that sort of thing. I'm certainly not into that in real life, but for some reason, sometimes it can be like, ooh, and you're just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. But it's not good. It's not healthy. I don't think. I don't think it's a good, because sometimes you can feel like the weight of it, like starting to pile up on you.
I have to cut myself off.
Yeah. It can affect you. It's like stupid shit, but it's negativity, and it affects you in a sort of a secondary or tertiary. Is that the right? Tertiary? phase,
Tertiary.
where it's somewhere down the road, but it still piles up on you like normal negativity. Anyway, something that's positive tonight. At some point, I'm going to give you a little test. We do a game on.
Am I gonna pass?
I don't
Am I
know.
gonna
This is
win?
interesting. I'm curious about this. We do a game. Christopher came up with something that we do some nights where he can't put together a weird trivia round. He'll go to like Ranker or one of these like aggregator or like list websites. It'll be like the top 10 or top 50 sci-fi films of all time. We've talked about this to some degree. We've even, I think I've given you some quizzes about that on this show. But tonight, I wanted to see how many of the best-selling fiction books of all time worldwide you could name out of the top. I think we're going to do the top 15.
That's awesome. When do we start?
Well, we can start any time. I need to grab a whiskey.
Yeah, bitch, I'm ready.
I'm
You're gonna let me think about it and cheat that way?
Well, I was surprised because there were some books that I did not expect to see on here. There are quite a few books that I hadn't heard of. Now, I'm not the world's biggest bibliophile. Is that the word? I don't read a lot of books, but I'm aware of shit, especially like pop culture-y stuff. And I certainly know about like classic books and classic films and things that even if I haven't seen them, I know about them. I was kind of surprised with how this went. So this, and I checked a few different lists. This one, they do vary from one site to the next, but this one seems to be when you individually search how many books how many copies these books sold, this one seemed to be the most accurate. And this is coming from jamesclear.com. I have no idea who that is.
Interesting.
You know that?
I own his book, I think.
Oh, good. So it's something familiar to you. So the way we're going to do this is I just want to see how many you can get out of the top 15. And we'll just kind of give you a few guesses. Yeah, several guesses, actually.
Number one is, regardless of whether it's on the list, the Bible.
Well, that's nonfiction. This is strictly fiction.
I said what I fucking said, Ron.
You said what you said, and you're absolutely right. Yeah.
Thank you.
Nonfiction, the Bible.
What about The Giver, Harry Potter, Animal Farm?
Well, wait. Let's go through one at a time.
The Giver?
The Giver is not but on the top 15 that I'm seeing. I'll scroll through these a few times, and then I'll have it mostly down. Now, you said Harry Potter. Which Harry Potter?
Sorcerer's Stone?
Yep. And I believe that's the first one, yeah?
I think so.
That is,
I haven't read 'em.
Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone is number 5 with 107 million copies sold. So you got one.
To Kill a Mockingbird.
To Kill a Mockingbird, to me, shockingly, is not only not in the top 15, it's well down the list. It's like out of the top 25. Yeah. That's one of those that would absolutely be up there on the best, like by anybody's standards. If you got people who knew books and knew what they were talking about, rating the best, it would definitely be there. So you got to keep in mind, this is most sold. And that's where I got tripped up too, because it doesn't really necessarily translate. I didn't think that there are any books that I would consider bad. But there are so many on here that I was like, really, that should be down the list in lieu of To Kill a Mockingbird being up there. But no, not in the top 15. 1984, also not in the top 15.
Animal Farm, Brave New World.
Animal Farm, nope. Brave New World, nope.
Twilight?
Twilight is just a little bit down, somewhere in the 30s on this list, I believe. But nope. Not in the top 15. You still only have one.
Does this include, like, children's books?
Well...
Like Cat in the Hat?
I don't see any of those. There are definitely a few in the top 15 that I think would be considered children's books.
Like Hunger Games?
Well, there's definitely stuff like that. Like Twilight and all that is, I would consider that, a young reader. But nope, none of those are in the 15.
So I've only got one.
There's a very famous, what most people would consider a children's book in the top 3. Top 4, actually.
What age group are we talking about?
Well, I think that you could be
The Giving Tree.
no, I think you could be as young as maybe like 5 or 6 to really get. It's a simple tale. I'll give you a hint. It's known as much for its illustration as for the written word, and it's not Dr. Seuss.
Oh, is it The Hungry Hungry Caterpillar?
No,
Is it a Carl what's his face book?
Carl. I don't believe it's Carl. No.
For its illustration. Where the wild things are?
No, but you're kind of getting closer.
And it's not Dr. Seuss?
No, it's French. I think
Oh.
the writer's French.
La Petit Prince, right? The Little Prince.
The Little Prince. Number 4. 142 million copies of that book has sold. That's amazing.
This must be like a global list, maybe.
Oh
is that
yeah,
really
it's
popular
it's
in the US?
worldwide. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of them that I was
Jesus.
finding was like specific to the U.S. or specific to the U.K. I wanted one of just like all time, and it made more sense this way.
Yeah. Well, this is harder than I thought it would be.
Yeah, me too. Although there are the top 3 I think are pretty. They aren't too surprising. What's the number one? What would you guess would be the number one? I will say this: it's a classic.
How classic.
Pretty
Like old
pretty
and
classic.
people don't actually enjoy it anymore.
I think people do enjoy it. I think actually out of all of the books that would be this old, it still gets enjoyed. It's highly influential. This is one that I think you should definitely get. If that puts the pressure on you. I think you should get all top 3, maybe not necessarily in that order, but these are all books that you haven't named.
Yeah, I'm thinking like, is there like Don Quixote on there?
There you go, number 1.
Yeah, okay, that's what I was thinking.
That makes up for it. Now you got 3, including number 1. And that's a good guess for number 1 because I don't think I would have gone with that.
I've never read it.
You know, it's one of those books that's got like so many translations and so many.
I want to. It's on my list.
Yeah, the version that I have, I highly recommend. I've read 2 versions of it. It's my favorite book, really. And I think if it's basically Edgar Rue is essentially my incredibly dumbed down version of Don Quixote, where it's just a quest for the sake of questing. And, Coolidge, instead of a giant tentacle, as he is in Edgar Rue, is kind of a bumbling sidekick who rides a donkey in
Incredible.
Don Quixote. But he's going insane, and he thinks that windmills are giants, and it's really bittersweet, but it's sort of like Canterbury Tales or, one of these other sort of anthology. It almost reads more like that because it comes in and out of the narrative of where Don and, why am I spacing his partner's name? Anyway, when they're just questing, and then it'll go on all these side quests. And those become almost a bigger part of the story. It's an amazing book. It absolutely deserves its place in that list.
I need to read it. I am
you'll
ashamed that I haven't.
You'll love it. I'll find the translation that I have because it has all these footnotes, and I'm not really a footnotes kind of guy, but this book is pretty intense, and there's a lot of insight to some things because it is old. It's older than most of these, way older than most of these on the list.
Are any of these scary stories?
I didn't see any Stephen King.
Stephen King, Edgar Allan Poe, Dean Koontz.
Nope, not in this list. In fact, there was no Stephen
Tom
King
Clancy.
even going. I'm sure there are a lot of those down closer to like 30 through 50, but there are some in that same contemporary.
Oh, Michael Crichton.
No, but you're getting closer to one
Ray
that I was
Bradbury.
shocked by.
Ray Bradbury.
No, sadly, no Ray Bradbury on the entire 25 list, which is crazy.
Huh.
I mean, there's a Choose Your Own Adventure book in the 25, but no fucking Ray Bradbury. Come on. But this is all on sales. This is not opinion based. That's what's fascinating about this, and that's what's key to remember why you continue to guess. We'll try a few more rounds because I think some of these you're going to get. I just know it. There's some very obvious ones that you haven't mentioned. That if I told you, you'd be like, "Durr."
Durr.
I'll give you a hint on one.
Please.
It's fairly recent. I'll say within the last couple of decades, and it surprised me that it was on this list. But a very, very popular book did inspire a movie that won't help you, and that's pretty much all of these on this list. Quite honestly, at one point inspired
A very
movie.
popular book written in the past couple decades that inspired a movie.
Well, everyone except the top two has absolutely inspired a feature film. Maybe even
The Great Gatsby?
no Gatsby this high
Charlie
up.
and the
Not
Chocolate Factory?
crazy. No, still further down.
Hmm.
Take a couple more guesses, then I'll tell you. There's one major.
Then that I'm missing.
There's a couple major that you're missing, but one I know you should be thinking about in terms of like just pop culture book, like a highly influential pop culture book.
Princess Bride?
No.
Oh. This is making me sad, actually.
Wah, wah, wah. That's a handful. It's so funny. I'll go through the entire top 15 list when we.
Will you give me a better hint?
Oh, I see. I wasn't giving you a better enough
You're
hint.
like, it's a really good book
Like
that
how
people like.
You just threw that back to me. Like, could you give me a
I'm thinking
better
this is a
hint?
you
I
problem.
wasn't going to give you any hints. Okay.
But
I will
I'm
give
stupid, so
you.
have to.
I'll give you a hint. Well, this might not. This will either give it away or really confuse you. The greatest adventure.
Are you okay? Is it
Okay.
Winnie the Pooh?
That's what I thought. See, there's a version of this book that was made into a movie where that song is.
Oh, is Lord
Prominently.
of the Rings on there?
Yes, Lord of the Rings is, and the greatest adventure.
Is this supposed to mean something to me?
Well, think of the Lord of the Rings. What else is kind of a part of that story?
The Hobbit?
The Hobbit. There you go.
Okay, that was
Those are
implied,
big
but
hints.
all right.
Okay.
Winnie the Pooh's not on there?
No, Winnie the Pooh's not.
I just, like, they're clearly not counting children's book. Because, like, if you did, you'd have, like, the Hungry Caterpillar
Goosebumps.
and
Goosebumps is up there. Nancy Drew is further down.
Boxcar Kids.
There are examples of what I would call kids. But we're talking like hundreds of millions of books.
Yeah, I don't think
maybe
I don't
maybe
think
there
I have
has
any
to
idea
be
what people buy.
Yeah, maybe there has to be a certain word to picture ratio. Because Little Prince
yeah.
has a lot of words in it, even though it's got a lot of illustrations. I would say it's at least half words, right? It's a full story. Maybe Winnie the Pooh is more like storybook. But
Yeah.
do you want to try any more guesses, or do you want me to
Narnia.
just go through? There you go. Narnia is number 10, Lion the Witch in the Wardrobe. 85 million copies sold. The one that's just next to it, number 11, is the one that I was trying to hint at. I don't know what other hints to give you that just wouldn't straight up give it away.
All right, you better
Just go through
lay
'em?
them on me.
Okay, starting at 15 is The Alchemist by Paulo
God, have you
Coelho.
read that?
I don't know. I haven't even heard. It didn't sound familiar.
It's a cult classic, and it is fine.
It's fine.
I,
Yeah. Well, a lot of these on this list may be fine. 14 is more than fine. Oh, that was 65 million copies, The Alchemist. 14, just under that, is also close to 65 million copies sold. Catcher in the Rye.
no, but see, that being on there and To Kill a Mockingbird not having sold more than that is like mind blowing.
It is mind-blowing.
Because I know way more people have read To Kill a Mockingbird than Catcher in the Rye.
Yeah.
And as we all know,
Yeah.
my sample size is indicative of the world.
It's true. Well, a lot of people might be reading them in school. Maybe they just use the school libraries
That's also
instead
why I
of
guess
buying
The
their
Giver
own.
and 1984 and
They didn't buy their own copy. 13 was another Harry Potter. The rest of the Harry Potters made up 17 through 20 or 18 through 20. But the one that came in at 13 was the Half-Blood Prince. It's, again, 64 million copies. Or 66 million copies. At 12, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Never heard of. 70 million copies. Number 11, which I thought you might get to and surprised me a bit, The Da Vinci Code.
Oh, man.
80 million copies. That was a huge fucking book, man.
That's so long ago, it feels like.
Yeah, well, it was 20 some years at this point.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I read it in middle school.
Yeah. I wish these had the years they came out, but it doesn't. Okay, so then you got Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe at 10, 85 million copies. 9, another one I hadn't heard of, H. Rider Haggard's She, A History of Adventure, 100 million copies. Then The Hobbit at 100 million. Then at 7, The Dream of the Red Chamber, another one I haven't heard, by Chow Chwin. 100 million copies sold. I know I butchered that name proper. And then There Were None. Agatha Christie. That makes sense. 100 million. Sorcerer's Stone, 107. Little Prince, number 4, 142 million. Lord of the Rings, 150 million copies. Puts it in number 3. Number 2, which you didn't get, is Charles Dickens.
You know, I was gonna guess Charles Dickens, and I thought...
Which one do you think it is?
Ooh,
And it's the only one of the Dickens in the entire 25 top 25.
Oliver Twist?
A Tale of Two Cities.
Two Cities, yeah.
And number 1, Don Quixote at 500 million, way above. Like, it's not even close.
Tale of Two Cities is my favorite Dickens book. And it's also got one of my favorite quotes in it.
You know what my favorite Dickens movie is?
What is it?
Two Guys, One Horse.
I was going to make that fucking joke. And coming in at number 1.
You don't want to know how it ends. You know what I'm...
Yeah.
Anyway, well, that was fun.
It is a far, far better thing that I do than I have ever done. It is a far, far better rest that I go to than I have ever known.
Very quote-worthy Dickens in general.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Charles Dickens. I'm sorry. I feel sad that high school English classes ruin him for people.
Yeah, I suppose. But yeah, look up that Don Quixote. I wonder if I actually have my copy. I would love to get you... I've loaned it out before. I wonder if I've gotten it back. I always loan out my favorite books, and I rarely get them back.
Yeah, you give books. You don't loan them.
Yeah, did you ever read The Wasp Factory, which is one of my favorite books? It's a hard read, but a short read, by Ian Banks.
Mm-mm.
Ugh. Yeah, what about Cavalier and Clay, another one of my favorite books? You would love...
We have nothing in common.
You would love The Adventures of Cavalier and Clay.
I assume so.
It's a great book.
You know, Don Quixote's public domain.
Oh yeah, it's that had to be the 1700s, 16 or 1700s.
Let's do a reading of it.
Sure. How hard could it be?
Yeah, fine. I bet. Especially having never read
how
it
hard
before,
could it be?
You can watch me figure
fine.
it out.
It could be exactly fine. Level hard.
Mm-hmm. It'll be fine.
Favorite book of all time? If we talked about this, can you pick one? Because I got another question that's very similar to this.
You know, for a long time, I told people it was East of Eden.
Oh, yeah. Steinbeck is another... He's got that, like, sumptuous storytelling and good sentences.
Steinbeck, but my favorite... So my 3 favorite authors are Steinbeck, Kurt Vonnegut, and J.D. Salinger.
I feel like we must have... Were we just talking about books in the last episode?
I only watched the first few minutes of our last episode, and it was me calling you a prissy bitch, and that's all I remember.
Yeah.
It would either be East of Eden or maybe a Slaughterhouse-Five or Cat's Cradle right now.
Slaughterhouse-Five
it's been a long time since I've read those.
Vonnegut.
Yeah,
probably. Is that the one that's like, and so it goes? I get a lot of his...
Yeah. Slaughterhouse-Five.
Yeah, that must be my favorite too, because that's the one that I have all these phrases memorized in my head. On that same note, we recently on How Bizarre, we started a record club, and each week we have a category. The first category we went with is albums that changed your life. Pretty heady category, and took some time for us to think. I'm putting you on the spot here because I haven't given you enough time to think. But I'm curious if off the top of your head, it's easy to pick one or maybe two albums without having to get too deep into it that changed your life, and what was life changing about it?
Two bands come immediately to mind.
Maiden and...
Seriously, Iron Maiden and Rush.
Oh, interesting. Well, my pick was Rush, A Farewell to Kings.
Oh, mine won't be that big of a deep cut. It might be Fly By Night, though.
We talked about Fly By Night. Well, that's kind of a deep cut. I mean, when people talk about Rush, they rarely talk about Fly By Night. Even though it's got 2 radio hits.
Incredible.
Mm-hmm.
All of Rush
Yeah,
is
it's either
incredible.
2112 or the Tom Sawyer album, which is Moving Pictures.
Yeah, what album was The Trees on?
That was on the one after Farewell to Kings. Hemispheres, yeah. That was basically part 2 of Farewell to Kings. It's got Cygnus Book 2 on it.
I didn't listen to a lot. Growing up, I didn't listen to a lot of, like, complete albums so much.
Yeah.
Well, I did, but when I was younger and had weird taste.
I hope that's something I hadn't really thought about, because I think that's a generational thing for the most part. And if anything, obviously we want to turn people on with this new segment on how bizarre 2 bands maybe they haven't heard and hear why we love them so much. But getting people to actually listen to complete albums again is sort of its
Andrew
own
Bird.
pride. Andrew Bird.
Armchair Apocrypha.
Good whistler.
Armchair Apocrypha changed my life. His current album, my finest work yet, is just crazy good. I'm a really big fucking fan. Although I guess it's not his most recent. He just put out another fucking album. This motherfucker is prolific.
Well, if that's your album, I'm asking for a couple of reasons. Conversation. Of course, we got a podcast. But also, I would love for you to join us one of these nights and play along with us. And we'll do it. The premise is we take one album. One of us on each episode takes an album. We do what we just did, explain why we love it, maybe get a little more in depth, 10, 15 minutes on why we love this, why you should listen to it, and look for this. Here's a little bit of history, my place, my personal biography, why I'm connected to this. And then we take the next week to listen to it, all of us on the show and anyone that wants to play along at home. So we'd love to have you be a part of that. I mean,
please,
why not?
I would
Good
love
cross-promotional. But yeah, I was the first one to do it, and my first pick was Rush, A Farewell to Kings, because it did change my life. I mean, it was tough it wasn't tough. I kept having these knee-jerk album choices that I wanted to bring. Like, these are albums I want to share. And they're great albums, and they're important to me, but I really wanted to stick to the idea of something that changed your life. And that album really did, Rush, A Farewell to Kings, because that's what got me into the idea that a song could be, 12 minutes and about spaceship battles and wizards. And it was like, this is some of the nerdiest and coolest, and it was just fun. It was like when everyone else at that era in the 70s was like singing about, fucking and rocking and rolling and maybe the devil, some of that stuff. They were just singing about like wizards and warriors and,
Led Zeppelin for that reason is also like very important to me.
Well, they, like many people at that era, mentioned some Tolkien stuff. What was is it Ramble On? Where there's a line in the creature Gollum snuck up and crept away with her.
Yeah.
He mentions Gollum.
Away with her.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so good.
Every 3 to 5 years I go through a Zeppelin phase. I was raised on Zeppelin, so it's like I devoured all those albums, and that's back when we had like a box of tapes. You didn't have a library of music. You certainly didn't have the interwebs. But I got so sick of it, and then I dated a girl who was a huge Led Zeppelin fan, so about the time that I was like pushing it back in the closet, I got double sick of it. So I went a long time without listening to Zeppelin. And then I just dug my records out, and Now, every few years, I'll sort of burn myself out on them again and then just put them back in. But what fixed it was putting back in the more obscure albums, like Physical Graffiti wasn't one that I played over and over and over and over again. I heard them all. What's the Oracle, the one with the Oracle on it? Presence. And Coda, which is an album I didn't even have when I was a kid. I didn't get that till later.
Ooh, you know what another one is for me? Oh my God. If You're Feeling Sinister, Belle and Sebastian.
Is that the one with, and it was the best sex of her life? I haven't heard Belle and Sebastian in forever.
This album is meaningful to me. I'm in love with it.
Yeah.
That was their
Well, think about it.
1996.
You got a ways because Chris still hasn't brought his and Lyle hasn't brought his. So we got another month or so to get until it would be your turn. Then we're going to do one of our listeners' picks. It's a fun addition to a podcast that has been going over a decade now. It's nice to have something fresh. Anyway, I was just curious. Can I tell you about something I hate right now? So we got these giant, beautiful trees out front, and we're about to cut them way back. I was going to cut them down, but I'm like, I don't want to lose all that privacy and all that shade. So let's just cut them way back. But this year, the elm bugs have been off the fucking charts. And twice now, in as many days, I have accidentally eaten one because it crawled into my food and or beverage. And I can tell you this, Holly. You know what those box elders bugs, they smell like? They kind of got that like musty, almost fruity, apple-y smell.
Are these little black bugs?
They're like black and red. They change color by the year, though. Sometimes they're more greenish. Sometimes they're...
How big are the ones you're eating?
They're tiny. I mean, they're about the size of like a fly.
I'll be honest.
Not a big fly.
I believe I've eaten one as well.
I'll say this. Well, first of all, they taste exactly like... If you've ever smashed one or you ever just smell them when they're crawling on you, they have a very distinct smell. They taste exactly like they smell. But they do have a slightly, if not alarming, a slightly elegant crunch.
So, can I tell you a fun story related directly to this?
Sure.
Good, because I'm going to. When I was a young child, probably elementary school, I was at my grandmother's house eating, I think it was like Oreos. I was like munching an Oreo like a little raccoon, and like I'd gotten it all over myself, and I picked up a crumb and ate it, and I saw another one, picked it up and went, and it was a box elder bug and not an Oreo crumb. So I feel
really
like
hogs the flavor profile, doesn't it?
It's
like
it's
pepper.
weirdly acidic, like tanniny.
I found mine being dull and appley. I don't know. There's something about that box elder that always read like a musty box of apples. Yeah.
They're.
I'm trying to replicate the sound.
Can also release an unpleasant odor.
I haven't always found it to be terribly unpleasant. I mean, not like a lacy wing. You smash one of those, and it smells like your grandpa's fucking breath at 3 a.m. Trust me. Let's move on.
Anyway,
I don't care for this late night visit, grandfather. Huh?
I said, anyway, have you seen Two Guys, One Horse? No, do you want another gross bug story?
Respect your box elders. Yes, let's hear a funny bug story.
Funny. I was backpacking with my dad, and we had hit our campsite and packed and had dinner, and sun was going down. We got in our tent, and I was sitting there and trying to go to sleep, and I was saying, like, oh, my eye really itches. Like, God, is there something in it, like an eyelash? And he goes, okay, hold still. And he pulls out, like, his headlamp, and he clicks it on. He goes, okay, look at me. And he grabs my eye like this and says, okay, look up. And as soon as he pulls down, a bright red beetle pops out of where my tear duct would be and crawls down my face. And I honestly don't know how he didn't just, like, kill me with fire. Because, like, that's at the moment.
She's of the devil.
One of the many moments you're probably like, why did I have kids? They always end up possessed.
Something's always popping out of something.
Just a blood red beetle. Just,
Interesting.
and he's like,
I remember one time when I was a kid, I was throwing the football around with my uncle, and I was like, God, there's something in my eye. It just was itching like crazy, and I ran over to him. I was like, do you see anything in my eye? He's like, yeah. So just like that. I'm like, what is it? Live mosquito? He's like, go deep. He's like, there's a live mosquito. Like, how is it live? This also brings me to another troubling memory. I managed to work it out.
Ron and Holly's bug trauma episode.
Well,
whatever.
This was trauma. This may have been one of the most oddly traumatic bug-related things I ever witnessed, but it didn't happen to me. It happened to my friend Jason. We were sitting down at, God, it doesn't matter, of course, but I feel like it must have been Nindel's. Oh, no, it was a Country Inn. And now I can picture the booth and where it happened. And he was just like, the whole time we were sitting there, you know, that was when you could smoke. We're just sitting there shooting the shit, sipping coffee, and making inappropriate jokes like we did. He's just like, he keeps itching his ear, scratching his ear. It's like, God, you could tell he just like couldn't quite get whatever was itching. And finally he's just like, oh, and he got his like pinky in there, and he just kind of went, and this huge fucking earwig unfurled. It went, like, landed on the table and like unfurled, and then turned around and ran off. Now, this wasn't too long after the first time that I had seen that Night Gallery episode where, you know, the guy got the earwig stuck in his head. Did you ever see that one? And then it burrowed its way in, and like he's like going crazy and everything. He's like, as it's like traveling across its brain. Highly unrealistic. But it in the end, I think it was like, the good news is we got the earwig out. And he's like, oh, thank God. The bad news is it was pregnant and it just laid eggs.
God damn it.
Credits over the guy screaming. Good shit. But yeah, I later found out that earwigs, I don't know if this is why they got the term earwig, but they will, like a lot of bugs, will sometimes snuggle up in your ear because it's warm and
This makes
cozy.
me so glad I sleep with earplugs.
Yeah, well, the idea of them like burrowing is pretty unrealistic, but I did get something, because they get stuck in your earwax. I mean, that's like,
I think you're getting real pedantic about like how much in my ear is okay for an earwig to be. The answer is none. The answer is zero.
I understand.
Within 6 feet of my ear, you're too close.
Well, my dad had an incident where some bug, it was like a little gnat. You know those tiny little gnats?
Yeah.
Have you ever had one kind of by your ear? And it's like, I've even had one in my ear, and I had to smash it in my ear because it was going in. He had one that managed to make its way through some of the wax. We're going to have to put a warning up on this episode. It's going to freak some
we've
people
just been
out.
Like, so a guy died from getting fucked by a horse, and now people have bugs in their ears.
It was a rough one.
What's your favorite book?
This is a rough one with a little bit of literary.
There's your intro right there.
Yeah.
That's the warning.
A little bit of literary quiz in the middle, just for highbrow men.
This album is really meaningful.
So anyways, the fucking earwig got scraped right out, but my dad had a gnat get lodged in, it couldn't go much further. It was stuck in like his earwax in there. And so like every 15 or 20 seconds, it'd be like, now imagine how much you would be like with Q-tips, with your fingernail, anything to get in there and scrape out that fucking gnat. And then he finally was just like, I just gotta let the fucking thing die and pray that it's not pregnant and about to have babies. So he did. He said it was like several hours or maybe even a day or two.
That's too long.
And then it made its last. I made that part up, but it eventually just stopped.
It felt real.
And I think like days later, it just, the wax comes from within and it just sort of flushes things out. And our bodies are amazing. It's all part of what that stuff is there for. It protects not just from certain substances and elements, environmental elements, but critters. And Yeah, who knows what else? Probably microbials.
God
even.
damn it.
It's like this oily, thick
Have you
patch
ever
that it
used,
has to survive.
Have you ever used, I only know them as Japanese ear cleaners. They might not be specifically Japanese, but they're little bamboo like sticks and they have a little tiny scoop at the end.
That sounds risky.
They're incredible.
Like you spoon out the wax?
Uh-huh.
That sounds like a terrible idea. Because you're not even supposed to put a cotton Q-tip that far in.
Because cotton Q-tips squeeze, but it scoops.
What does a spoon
It's
do?
a scoop.
At some point, it's going to like gunk. Like you're gonna. I should have a spoon handy. What with my heroin addiction? But just picture a spoon. Spoon, I says. At some point, that's going to do the same thing, right? Do you have it handy?
No.
What is it called?
I need to get more.
What's it called? A Vietnamese torture spoon? Would you think
I always sell them
Japanese?
as Japanese ear cleaners. Let me see if that's what they're actually.
I've never heard of those. I have heard of these candles that some people get that supposedly pulls the candle wax out, or the earwax.
Oh my god, we should do that and film it.
Well, I think that it's been debunked, and I think that what it's actually pulling out is the discolored candle wax.
Oh.
Ear
we're not gonna
cleaning
try
and
it?
romance. Sorry about that. I went to Japan's ear cleaning salon.
No.
Japanese earwax cleaning salon, an ear clean. These are all salons.
Ear cleaning pick.
Okay, here it is. Oh yeah, it's just a
wooden
metal
ear cleaning
spoon.
pick.
It's always too bright.
Does it have a little poof ball at the end?
This is what I'm pulling up. Oh, it's a spoon.
Yeah, the one in the green packaging.
Mm-hmm.
Click on that and look at the other stuff that comes up.
Oh yeah, I do see a cotton ball. Well, this
Yeah,
one has
those
like
are
a little
just
noose.
ornamental. Yeah.
I don't know if you can
Ooh.
see that.
Order some.
What's the noose do? Oh, that's the other side. Oh, that's what you're saying. Those are ornamental. Okay, well, these are a little more. This is about the size of a Q-tip. That last spoon I saw, that looks scattershot. Okay, so you're just supposed to put them in your ear canal and gently
They're honestly
scrape.
probably bad for you, but man,
They have
do
to
feel
be.
good.
Well, even Q-tips you're not supposed to do it. You got to be very careful. People sometimes pop their drum.
At-home earwax removal.
At
What does
home,
that suggest?
spoon and earwax up mountain tops, with him on top, cotton ball aside.
Ear candling is not a recommended treatment for earwax blocking.
Okay, since you have that, is that something you're looking at?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not. It's bullshit, right? Like
Yeah,
I think
does not
it's
appear to
been
work.
proven to be bullshit. People swear by it. One of the
Don't
psychological
attempt to
things.
dig out excessive or hardened earwax.
This reminds me of, if you go to any procedure, there is a placebo effect, obviously. That's why when they do double-blind studies, they're eliminating the placebo opportunity. But with hearing, it's really interesting what you can convince yourself of. And I studied this in my youth, just fucking with my grandpa. Because he had like hearing issues, but it was mostly because he would occasionally go get them professionally cleaned, like from the doctor, not with like voodoo. And I hope that wasn't racist. It maybe sounds like something that should be eliminated.
It feels like it should be racist.
Yeah, I apologize. But you know what I mean? Like it
that's
was
just a
like
gut instinct.
He went to the ear doctor. He didn't. It wasn't like some.
Back alley earwax cleaner.
Yeah, or one of these like homeopathic things. It's like, really, could that really work? And they could hear again. But when I was a kid, he'd always tell me to turn the TV down just a cooch. That was his saying. Now I grew up hearing the word cooch all the time. It wasn't till later that people started looking at me funny. I was like, "Will you turn that down a cooch?" Like a cooch. But so and then you do the thing where you like, and he's like, just a little bit, and you do this. Like pantomime, and then not turn, but just like glide your finger over it to make it look like you turn. It's like that's enough. That's enough. That's good. That's perfect. It's like I didn't turn it down at all. So you can convince yourself of audio changes
Yeah, I was actually telling someone just today that I need to get my hearing checked. Because I'm not sure if I can't hear or if everyone around me is just like kind of an asshole and doesn't talk to me properly.
Well, it's interesting because it depends on the pitch. A lot of people have a hard time hearing me, even though I have a fairly loud, well carrying voice.
And
A
you
lot of people
enunciate
think that I
well.
mumble. Yeah, I don't mumble, but a lot of people hear me as mumbling. I can't say that I don't sometimes mumble, and sometimes I do maybe just talk to myself a little bit or say something that wasn't meant to be projected. But I've noticed that the older I get, or the older people get around me, I have a timbre, is that the right word? That a lot of people have started to lose. You know, you're hearing, you start to lose it in one spectrum or another. A lot of people, it's
Yeah.
the upper register with the treble, or the middle sounds a little catterwampus. But for some people, that bassier tone just kind of becomes more like. So,
That's how you sound to me, though.
is it?
Oh,
Well, you're doing very well, considering that you are doing a podcast with somebody that is mush
No, I
mouth.
think like Cody tends to do a lot of like he'll start saying something to me and then turn around, face away from me, and just like walk away or go into the other room. And I'm like, can't see your mouth. You're facing away from me. You're
It is
talking.
interesting how much seeing the mouth can help.
Well, and just like also walking away, like you're just going, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
What?
I've been pretty fortunate. I have a lot of tinnitus after years of loud music, being a musician, going to shows. Not crazy tinnitus. I've read some horror stories, but I seem to have pretty good hearing still. I can hear most in most registers, but some people, you know what, even at your age, they start
I need to get mine
the hearing
tested.
damage. Yeah,
It's
you
another
do.
medical result I can bring to the show.
You do, because once you lose it, it's gone. If you've really lost it, sometimes, you know, like I said, it's just you need to get the wax out of your ears, or there's some other thing. But yeah, it's a scary thing. I've got a friend. I think you probably know him, but he quit a very popular band around here because it's a loud band, and the other person in the band wasn't interested in playing quieter. That's kind of his shtick. You know, he wants to
Yeah.
be a loud, powerful band. And the other guy was having issues with his hearing. He's like, I can't fucking do it. And I talked to him not that long ago. I was like, that's the right call, man, because I go to these shows now. I go to like Wally's or somewhere, certainly a big show over in Seattle. I'll walk in there with my fucking bright fluorescent orange construction site ear plugs these days. I don't fucking care. Like, you can laugh at me all you want, kid. I always say, come see me in 30 years when your entire world is ee. But that's bad. The tinnitus is bad enough. But when you actually start losing hearing,
Yeah. Yeah.
that, like, we're all supposed to be like lovers of music. So it's funny how scattershot so many of us have been and continue to be with that miracle of being able to listen to music. It's like, yeah, communicating is great, all that is important, but can you imagine losing the ability to listen to music? Because I know people that they're not deaf, they can hear you and they can communicate, but they have lost certain frequencies in their hearing to where when they listen to music, it's got that weird, like it just irritates, like it's not enjoyable. It's like, that's a fucking nightmare. Like, that would be a fucking nightmare to lose the gift of hearing music. And we do it every time we go to a fucking show with no headphones or
But you know
earplugs.
what? Even after you lose your ability to hear music, you know what you can still listen to?
What's that?
Us.
Well, that's true. But don't you think that we make a certain kind of
We are
music?
music.
Wow. Jim fucking Morrison over here. We are music.
You can too.
Like that rock and roll sass. What's that? Yeah,
There
they're
are
having
too many people in my house.
they're
I'm gonna
having
go kick them out.
they're having fun over there. Well, I don't really have anything else to talk about tonight. If you want to wrap it up, make it a shorter one, or if you want to end on something. Did you end on something? You yawned about 8 times. You guys all energized and ready to take on your day? Welcome to the Holly and Ron show. Oh, I hate bugs. That guy fucked a horse. What else?
Just
Give me a better clue.
look
What's up? Shut up. It's enjoyable. Anywho, anything else you wanted to throw out before we get on out of here?
I can't record next week.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that we recorded this week.
The reason is I'm going to be in Yellowstone for a week at
Ooh.
doing a poetry class.
Interesting. There's a podcast.
If I don't come back, you'll know I've died petting something I shouldn't.
Or from serial killers. I've been listening to a podcast called Park Predators. As it sounds, it's all about violent murders in national parks.
Yeah, they had that
it's
guy they
interesting.
called the National Park Killer, and he had stashes at major parks throughout the country. And they couldn't catch him because he crossed state lines so frequently.
Oh, yeah, we might have talked about that guy.
Yeah.
We've covered so many things on the other show at this point. It's so hard to keep track. 400.
Every time I tune in, it's you guys talking about your dicks. I'm like,
That's yawn number
I'll give
9.
this a go in a minute.
Well, listen, we are dicks, and we all have
Yeah.
dicks, and we're proud.
You shouldn't be.
Hey, come on.
It's fine. It's not like
Tell me that Jeff Bezos did not make a penis. You know his penis is this shaped, right? This is the Amazon logo. It didn't jump out at me as a penis until quite recently, and maybe having to do with his rocket that he
wow.
just
I also
famously
didn't
launched.
realize that. You're absolutely right.
It's one of those. Whoo,
That also makes
Some-
it look like it's coming, like the sun rising.
Here comes the sun,
Cook-a-doodle-doo.
and me as well. Do. But yeah, look at that. It's a fucking dick,
Things I
right?
hate. This conversation.
This makes me think that he has a curved dick, which a lot of ladies, I don't have a curved dick, but a lot of ladies tell me that they're turned off by the idea of a curved dick. I maintain, if you were born with one of these dicks, that is prime, no pun intended, that is Amazon Prime for getting up to that G-spot. I mean, look at that. Don't they make like sex toys? Are you enjoying this or troubled, folks?
I thought you were asking me for once.
Well, I think you're hypnotized. You're just like, yeah, that's right. I'm primed. Anyway, I think that I don't know. If you're turned off for whatever reason of the shape and look of it, give it a try. It's like green eggs and ham. You don't know until you've had it. What is your favorite children's book, by the way?
I really thought that was going a different direction.
Yeah, that was a transition.
That was unsettling. I feel like we should have some more padding material before we go straight from what shape is Jeff Bezos' dick? Anyway, children's literature.
It's the Holly and
God
Ron show.
damn.
We don't really have padding, except for outside. The Little Prince is definitely, that's like high,
Phantom
I think that's
Tollbooth
high art, little
was
kids.
one of my favorites.
Phantom Tollbooth?
Yeah.
I know the name. I don't know the story.
God damn it, Ron. You would love it so much. Hey, fucker, have you watched that thing yet on Netflix? It's 15 minutes long that I've been trying to get you to watch for 2 years.
You fucker. Is it the robots one? The Death and Robots? What thing?
No.
What's 15 minutes on Netflix?
This documentary.
Called?
John tries to contact aliens.
Oh, yeah, you have been asking me about that.
It's the most Ron thing. Or Ron tries to contact space. Sorry. Or no, John tries to contact aliens. I guess it's.
Is there
Yeah.
a sequel?
It's the most Ron shit
Send
I've
me a
ever
link.
seen, and I'm furious that you have not watched it yet.
I'll watch it tonight.
You fucking promise? Ron, go put it on right now.
All right. I will.
You're not.
I said I will.
You're gonna Photoshop yourself in the background like beep boop bop.
I will watch it tonight. I'll watch it, very soon.
I've misnamed it 4 times. It is John was trying to contact aliens, is what it's called.
Okay.
It is 16 minutes on
Yeah.
Netflix.
You're not the only one that's pointed me to it. A handful of people have. I don't know
It's
why
fucking
I haven't got
stupid
around
that you
to
haven't watched it yet.
it. Okay. Well, aren't they? It was making headlines at some point. Are they making it into a bigger thing or like a feature film?
I have no idea.
Is it part of another show? Because for something to be that short on
No,
Netflix
it's
is kind
just
of
a
odd.
15-minute documentary about this guy
Okay.
who is perfect in every way.
Maybe Maybe I did watch it and I just forgot it. I'll look it up.
Good.
Okay. Well, let's get on out of here.
I love you.
Love you back. We won't be here next week, sounds like. But you all are used to a fairly sporadic. I think you just pop, pop us. That's not what I was trying to say. When you see us pop up, you hit play or you don't. Not many of you listening to the audio version, but it will be up. Invite you to listen to Park Predators. There's got to be something that happened in Yellowstone at this point. She's done 2 seasons of it.
My friend Sandy recommended a book of like Yellowstone deaths or something like that. Ways to die in Yellowstone. It's all about the different ways people have died in Yellowstone.
I've seen that. I might have that book actually. I've got.
I'm
something
planning
like
on
that.
maybe getting the audiobook to listen to on our way there.
Don't you love audiobooks? I'm always so disheartened when there's no audiobook. But I have also found I just got a book. I'm working on a story for the Comet that may not go through. The guy's not really too keen on being interviewed because he's had enough publicity in his life. But one of the originals, well, there's only 7. One of the Seattle 7 guys is somebody that's been in my life for a long time. I didn't know that until recently. And one of the other, not him, but one of the other Seattle 7 guys is the guy that inspired The Big Lebowski. Anyway, I'm trying to like interview this guy, and he's ready to talk to me because I'm, like a friend of the family. But I haven't convinced him yet to do it and go public with that interview, even though it's nothing new. But there's a book that I had to chase down, and it wasn't in digital form. I knew it wouldn't be an audiobook. But you can also get the if you get the text, you can get your phone to read it to you. It's a little robotic, and it's not perfect, but it works.
I do that with a lot of stuff. There's an app for that, by the way, that I found.
Yawn number
nicely.
10.
Shut the fuck up, Ron. I'm tired.
I think you need water. Have you been drinking enough? When I yawn 10 times when I'm recording a
I'm
public
probably dehydrated.
podcast,
I'm also like got up and cleaned my house in the middle of the night for a couple hours.
Oh, yeah, I did a lot of cleaning earlier today. There's something going on the scanner, too. Look, there's another fire. I don't see any smoke.
We just look at, we're just slowly engulfed in flames on camera.
We're not done yet. We've had 2 very scary fires, and we're not done.
Us, and I'm like, I'm done.
We're not going anywhere. Beginning hour 2 of a 13. One of these times, we're going to have to do some sort of one of these nights. We're going to have to do like a fundraiser marathon and just go live and just see how much bullshit we can pull out of our ass and how long we could do it.
Take bets on how long we can talk.
I think that's long. Oh, was that an animal or Cody?
I think it's the dog.
Oh.
I like that he, in that hypothetical, said his name like a Pokemon. Mm-hmm. Cody.
But yes, in the future, we'll do some sort of fundraiser. We should do a marathon. We need to give back to the public, as they say. I don't do enough. I usually do a lot of charitable things.
We have to do it
one of the reasons I started Radio
this.
Station.
I can't do it on this.
Oh, that would be fun. Yeah. Then
we have to do it on your couch.
Then we would just get hammered.
We should do it on your roof.
Well, on the roof, then we'd have to like hold the phone. Like it'd be better if we could like mic ourselves and.
You realize we have the technology to get something else to hold.
Maybe when I trim my trees. It also could be windy and hot up there, and there's elder bugs.
Let's get on your couch.
Respect your elder bugs. Oh
my God.
I haven't been up there because there's too many fucking bugs. A delicate bite.
Anyway, tune in next time for 2 guys, 1 horse. Mm-hmm. Holly and Ron react.
Oh God, no, we can't.
I would never do that in 1,000 years. Stop looking contemplative.
These reaction videos are making people famous, man. We should do a reaction. Not horse fucking. But
we should
something.
We should try our hand at a reaction video so everyone can see how fucking stupid we are.
Yeah. Horse fucking reaction video. But someone's already done it anyway. That's the internet. All right, y'all. Tune in. Not next week, but next week. And if you enjoy some of this, you'll definitely enjoy How Bizarre Podcast, which does come out most weeks, although we'll be missing next week too because it's Comet Week.
So for next week, what you need to do, go sit in a closet, talk to the corner, pretend the reverbs are your co-host, you'll have a podcast now.
Mm-hmm. It's true. It really is true. You can start a podcast. I had 3 people today and yesterday, just out of the blue, reach out to me about how to start a podcast and what software I use. And yeah, I guess so. I mean, listen, if you get 5 people that listen to you, that's fun for a while. But if it doesn't grow, it's a grind. And even just turning it on, like today, we just turned it on. Didn't really have anything ready to go. Well, next time I'm gonna have a whole pile of stuff ready to go.
We do this for us more than anyone else.
Yeah, that's true. This podcast,
it's
for
the only time
How Bizarre is a bit more of a grind. I didn't want to start this one with like it having any kind of preconceptions. It's like this is what you get. Comes when it does. No, just like Mr. Oh, R.I.P. I keep saying R.I.P. I don't want him to rest in peace. I want him to suffer.
RTP.
He raped horses, right? I mean, he was the one getting fucked. I'm sorry that I tied that all in with the Amazon. Actually, that full circle. That's okay. So Mr. Hands is here. This is how it probably went. Did you go away? Hello? Holly just quit. All right. Well, I guess I'll see you on the other side. I better wait and make sure she comes back. There she is.
You deserved that.
You hung up on me when I was doing a great...
Do you want me to do it again? Do you want me to do it again?
Come on. I think this is a perfect... illustration. Okay. Yeah. Do not R.I.P. Didn't rip. But let's get out of here.
RTP, ripped to pieces.
Mm-hmm. Oh, he was.
B-A-H.
Oh, he was.
B-A-H by a horse.
He was. Colon perforation.
Can we, okay, really quick before we sign off, I would like a code name. Mr. Hands is honestly a great name.
Yeah, but boy, the association.
No, we can't have that, obviously. But we should come up with our own.
Yeah. I used to go by... Well, I used to have a CB radio when I was a kid, and I was a huge fan of Dinosaur Jr., so I called myself Dinosaur. That was my handle.
Oh.
And when I talked to the girls on walkie-talkie up here to downstairs, I should qualify what girls I'm talking about. Breaker 1-1. My handle is still Dinosaur. Can that be my secret? What are these for? I think I'm already putting thought into it. There's just no question asked. Like, yeah, we do. What's a good code name?
Our future heists, perhaps. I don't have a plan for them.
Yeah.
Dinosaur is good though.
Yeah, Dinosaur works. It always worked.
And as the older you get, it will become S-O-R-E.
Too true.
Dinosaur.
Yeah, I'm Dinosaur. What's your code name?
I don't know, Ron.
But you started this.
I've gone by, a friend of mine calls me Hollandaise, and it really cracks me up.
Yeah, you get a lot of nicknameable situations. Hollywog I think you're Hollywog in my phone.
Yeah, I get Hollywog. Torpedo.
I came up with something the other day that I hadn't heard before. I hadn't thought of concerning your name, but I can't remember what it was.
Hollyhock.
Yeah, Hallelujah. There's some good ones in there.
But we got to think of my call name.
Yeah, it doesn't have to contain your real name. I guess it shouldn't.
No, I think it could be something along the lines of like, I don't know. I have nothing. We'll work on it. I'll brainstorm. Okay. I'll noodle.
Okay.
Okay. Love you. Goodbye.
Love you. You got to do your sign off.
Yeah. We'll see all you fuckers on the other side if I don't die eating, touching a bison. Yeah. All right. Bye, everyone.
Love you. Bye.
That was upsetting.
Hashtag Holly says stop fucking animals.